Get started finding articles for Exercise Science 190 for your research article review. The first place you're going to search is Pirate Search right here on the library's homepage. So if you just Google Park University Library, this is what pops up. This is our homepage. So Pirate Search right here is a great tool. It's what you're going to use because it is essentially searching all of our databases all at once. We have 160 databases, and you don't need to search all of those individually because this tool will search all of that for you. So if my goal is to find an article about sports nutrition, if that's my topic, I could type in sports nutrition. I want to also spend some time thinking about some synonyms or some related terms that might apply. So if I search sports nutrition, that's going to pull up one set of results. But if I search athletes nutrition or even college athletes nutrition, that's going to pull up a different set of results. So Pirate Search and our databases all use a search algorithm that's different than Google, right? So in Google, you can type in an entire sentence and it can tell what you mean. Pirate Search can't tell what you mean when you type in more than 3 or 4 words. So think about what those big terms are in your topic and think about some synonyms. What are some related terms that scholars might be using to describe your topic? So if we search sports nutrition here, it pulls back 1.5 million results, which is a lot of results. It's also pulling out books, which is not something that you guys want to be looking at for this particular assignment. So I would just go up here and click scholarly peer-reviewed journals, and it's basically weeding out books, and it's also weeding out some of those news articles that we pay for databases for, like the New York Times and Wall Street Journal. This gets rid of those because those aren't peer-reviewed and they're not scholarly. So now it weeded it down to only 500,000, right? It took away 1 million results. So now we're looking at a much better set of options. So what if I'm interested in this one right here? If I want to read about metabolic responses to honey. So this is basically the record for the article. So if I scroll down here, I can see the abstract. The first thing that you want to look for this particular assignment, because you have to be using empirical research. Empirical means that they did research, right? That means there's going to be numbers, there's going to be statistics. They're going to be doing very, very numerical heavy stuff, particularly for exercise science. So in this abstract, it should show numbers, right? You can see numbers all up in here. They're doing statistical analysis and there's like math involved. That is the first thing that's going to tell you if something is empirical research, which is what you need to be looking at for this assignment. The abstract, now if I want to actually read this article, right, because the title hooked me and then I read the abstract and that told me, that this is going to be relevant because the abstract is basically a summary of my article. If I click Access Now, this is an example of what's probably going to happen periodically for you. So we got the record for that. We know that that article exists, but we don't pay for a subscription to a database that has immediate access to it. But we can request a digital copy of this article from another library that does have it. So it auto-populated everything that you need for the article. All you need to do is put in your name, your ID, your email address, scroll down here and hit submit. And within 2 to 4 business days, typically, you'll get a copy of that as a PDF emailed to you at your Park email address. So you really don't want to limit yourself to only stuff that you're available to read right now. We want to be able to see, all of the available articles on a topic. So that's an example of what could happen. So if I wanted to read this one, this is an example of one that we have. We have immediate access to in the PDF form. If you click PDF right here, it'll just take you right to the article and you can read it all right here. So this also does look like an empirical study because in the methods section and in the results section for this specific article, we see numbers. That's one thing that's going to show me that this is a research article, an empirical research article. A pilot study, that's also going to be empirical, feasibility, cross-sectional study. These are all going to be empirical. So I want to show you an option of right here. This is an example of a scholarly peer-reviewed journal article that is not empirical. It says a narrative review in the title. That means they read a bunch of journal articles and they compared them all to each other. And then they thought about it and they drew conclusions from that. And they basically just wrote a literature review. They're synthesizing the existing literature on this topic. They're not making any new discoveries and they're not arguing any new things. So this is a really good example. So they have a method section right here in the abstract. So that can be kind of confusing when you see, a methods and a results section, but those sections are really just saying, here's how we decided what articles we were going to read. And that's not empirical, right? There's no numbers, there's no statistical data in this. And also there probably wouldn't be any charts and graphs. That's something that you're also going to see in the results section of an empirical article. So number one is we look at the abstract for numbers, and number two is we look up here, does it have the word review in the title? So there's a lot of ways to describe this: a narrative review, a scoping review, a systematic review, a literature review. The thing in common right there is review. If it says review in the title, then it's not empirical research. That just means that they read other people's research and wrote their own article based on that. And we don't want to look at that for this particular assignment. So that's something to be aware of. Something else, once you find an article that you want to cite and save, up here to the right is all your options for saving. So download, you can download it as a PDF and you can read it that way, save it on your computer. If you hit share, you can email it to yourself. You can also save it to Google Drive or your OneDrive. You can also click create link here and you can email that to yourself, or you can save the link like in a Google Doc or a Word doc, and you can take your notes right there and just keep the link. Email, you just type in your email and hit send, and it'll send a copy of this article to you. So these are all your options up here for saving it, download and share. Right here, these quotation marks means cite. So we're using APA for this. Sometimes it might not automatically toggle you to APA. It might toggle you to a different one by default. So just make sure that this is selected to APA. And it's created your citation for you right here. So you're going to copy paste that. It might get rid of the italics and it might get rid of the special indentation, that hanging indent. So you're going to want to look over that and make sure that when you copy paste it, that indent stays and that the italics stay also. So this is how you search for this particular class. Pirate Search is the one place that I'm going to recommend that you look. And remember to click that scholarly peer-reviewed journals, and we look for the word review in the title and for numbers and data, statistical data in the abstract.